They were promised something different than what they got. All these celebrities like Oprah and Beyonce and everybody was here in support of Kamala. It was going to be her victory. She was going to win.
This is just an epic disaster.
You can't approach working people like missionaries and say, we're here to help you become more like us.
They just didn't show the respect.
Kamala insiders are furious with the results of the election. They were promised something different than what they got. They were told it was a margin of error race. It was very close. All these celebrities like Oprah and Beyonce and everybody was here in support of Kamala, and it was going to be her victory. She was going to win. But now she didn't win, and people are wondering why they were promised a bunch of things that didn't turn out to be true. And now we're learning that people like Oprah were paid $1 million to show up. We thought, oh wait, this is some organic introduction. Everybody just loves Kamala out of nowhere is what they were trying to tell us. We knew that was not true at all. We knew this was a facade from the beginning. We called it AstroTurf from day one. It was this big climactic bubble that they had because they were in a relationship with Joe Biden for so long. They had a fresh new face. They got all excited and giddy, but they realized it's not any better. So then it all came crashing down, and now you can see there are fingers being pointed. People want to know what happened. And why did Oprah need $1 million to show up? I thought she wanted to save America. Why'd she have to be paid? Are these expenses for the production, or is that her profit for getting her to be an endorser? So we've got reaction on it and more. The media still trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Even Charlemagne's like, what? How many people voted for Trump? All right, so lots of fun, but this is the big one. This woman is just reeling, shocked. Said, I was promised a bunch of stuff and I went out and I raised millions of dollars. I gave people my word that I had inside information and I knew where this was going to go. And turns out I was made to be a fool.
I mean, I'm not on anyone's payroll. I'm not beholden to anyone. That's why I'm here telling the truth. I'm not here to gaslight anybody. This is just the truth.
What is the truth?
The truth is this is just an epic disaster. This is a $1 billion disaster.
Yeah.
Actually, it was $1.018 billion, I think, right? There were 20 million or $18 million in debt.
Right.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
and I
wow.
raised millions of that. I have friends that I have to be accountable to and to explain what happened because I told them it was a margin of error race. I was promised, Jen O'Malley Dillon promised all of us that Harris would win. She even put videos out saying that Harris would win. I believed her. My donors believed her. And so they wrote massive checks. I feel like a lot of us were misled. And even on the night of election night, Will, I looked somebody in the eye and I said, are we going to do this? Are we going to pull it off? She told me yes. And I asked somebody else, like, how are you feeling? He's like, we're going to win Iowa. And I was like, what?
Do you think, did they believe this going in? Was there a real sense of false confidence on the side of Kamala Harris? Or did they know they were in store for disaster?
I was wondering about that. I asked them, are you privy to internal numbers that I am not seeing? Because I study this so carefully, and I just wasn't seeing any basis for that level of confidence. I also want to remind our viewers that, the Trump campaign was touting all of these incredible empirical data weeks before election night. What Harris is touting was the door knocking. She didn't say anything really about early voting. Now I know it's because there was nothing much to say.
Oh, just got obliterated. So that's what we were observing. We were watching all of it. We're like, these don't compute. Hello? What are you talking about? Like 6 months ago, they were talking about replacing Kamala as the vice president because she was so terrible. She flamed out during their primaries. She's failed at everything she's ever touched as the vice president, has done nothing meaningful at all, and can't talk or think or answer anything substantive. And so we're all watching going, what? Remember their DNC? Remember the lunacy there? And how hysteric they were? They called it joy. Like, you're hysterical. It's not joy. You might need to take something for that because you're losing your marbles. And now she got duped. Many of them got duped. And I think it's bigger than that. I think there was some intentional deception and misleading to try to raise money, to try to grift off of the whole campaign. I mean, if you show her the numbers, she doesn't make the donations. She doesn't go raise millions of dollars. So they don't show her the numbers. No, we're doing great. And I watched some of those Jen O'Malley videos that she posted on the interwebs. They were great. I was like, wow, this is next level cope. Like, well, no, I mean, the early vote totals don't matter because Puerto Rico. Okay. So they were having a hard time on that. Now, Oprah obviously had to get paid $1 million because why? She's like, well, Kamala, huh? Yeah, I mean, maybe, but it's gonna cost you $1 million. Woo, that's a lot. So Winfrey also appeared at the Philadelphia rally. She got paid $1 million, according to a report, coming after a star-studded town hall that she hosted. And I can't imagine she's paying, like, that's not for production costs, right? The campaign pays all that. She shows up as the talent. Winfrey also appeared at Harris's final rally. Says, we're voting for values and integrity and $1 million check. We're voting for healing over hate and direct deposit. Now, but Winfrey wasn't the only star the Harris campaign spent big money on. Look at this. She also had to pay Call Her Daddy podcast. A source familiar with the matter told the Washington Examiner that the Harris campaign spent 6 figures on building a set for Harris's appearance on the Call Her Daddy show. Yeah, okay, that room cost $100,000. Okay, what is that, a $10,000 chair? What are you talking about? The interview came out in October and was reportedly filmed in a hotel room in Washington, D.C. Oh, it's a hotel room. So they paid someone $100,000 for the set. The campaign also spent up to $20 million on swing state concerns on the eve of the election. A performance by Alanis Morissette could have happened. Isn't it ironic, don't you think? The campaign had 7 swing state concerts. They brought John Bon Jovi out, Christina Aguilera, Katy Perry, Lady Gaga. I wonder how much they got paid. Money can't buy you love or a good candidate. No. Advertising's pretty important, but it was all fake. Hilarious, right? We saw it. We were watching it. We're going, how does anybody believe this at all? And they all did. Or they all, I think it was just an excuse, a fake because they're like, no, we are happy with our candidate. You sure? We are happy. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, turns out some shock is in the air. Charlemagne, who was out there shilling hard for Kamala, is shocked to realize that 1 out of every 3 voters of color voted for Trump.
What do you make of the demographics here? I mean, Trump got 1 out of every 3 voters of color.
No.
Yeah.
1 out of
33%.
No. Really?
Yeah.
When you say color, you mean like black, brown, everything. Oh, well, I think that, people have different...
What was that? Oh, you're talking about the Latinxes too, aren't you? So people of color, I think he was just saying that was only African Americans, and then, oh, you mean everyone else do? Oh, okay. Well, that's not just us then.
Issues that they care about, and I think that there's nobody out there that's a single issue voter. I think some of this is a backlash to race and gender and identity politics, but man, most people, they just care about keeping food on their table and keeping a roof over their head, and I think sometimes people forget about that. I think that they forget.
We didn't forget about it. That's what we've been saying for a couple of years.
Forget about, the working class, and for whatever reason, Donald Trump speaks to the grievances of the working class in a real way, and I keep telling folks, people will forget what you did, they'll forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And when you go back to 2020, even though it was a pandemic and it was COVID, people don't care. All they know is they got stimulus checks with his name on it, and that's what they remember. And so people think about that. When you have conversations...
That's it. That's what people remember, getting a stimulus check with COVID. I didn't get a stimulus check for COVID. We did for our law firm, right, there was the federal program, but a stimulus check is what he's talking about, is the people getting actual physical checks, right? And you had to be under a certain threshold, I think is what he's talking about. So I don't think that's really what people are excited about with COVID and Trump. I think it was the broader idea that we had a functional economy, a safe border, and less wars. Our currency wasn't being inflated away every day. So I don't really know what his identification of the problem is.
Folks, they'd be like, I remember how 2020 felt. And they think that they're going to feel that, this next term.
Yeah, I mean, how do you explain? I mean, he obviously swept the battleground states. He drove up, turnout around the country in Republican areas. But he did much better than he had done before in places like Chicago, Brooklyn, Queens.
Right, and I think it was the strong economy. It wasn't the COVID checks. 2020 was a pretty rough year after, let's say, February, by the way. So I don't think that people were getting their stimulus checks and thrilled about the state of the world in general. It's kind of a precarious situation. So I think they're still off, missing the mark on this. Axelrod says it's about the working class. Let's see what CNN says.
Well, you've heard me over the last few days. I do have concerns about the way the Democratic Party relates to working class voters in this country. The only group that Democrats gained with in the election on Tuesday was white college graduates. And among working class voters, there was a significant decline. The only group Democrats went on were people who make more than $100,000 a year. You can't win national elections that way, and it certainly shouldn't be that way for a party that fashions itself as the party of working people. So I think he has a point. Mike knows this because we've been talking about it. You can't approach working people like missionaries and say, we're here to help you become more like us. There's a kind of unspoken disdain, unintended disdain in that. I think Biden has done, programmatically some good things for working people, but the party itself has increasingly become a smarty pants, suburban, college-educated party, and it lends itself to the kind of backlash that we've seen.
Yeah, and they look down their noses at everybody who doesn't believe like they believe. Oh, you don't trust the science. And they treat everybody like they're morons, and it doesn't work out very well for them. This guy got treated like he was a moron, like he didn't belong to be a part of the enlightened Kamala team. And so they lost Pennsylvania, and he might have been able to reverse that for them if they weren't so arrogant and condescending. Here's how he explains they botched a key state.
We lost the election. I would have liked to see the Harris campaign, especially the national campaign, coordinate with us a little bit, talk to us a little bit, give us a little bit more resources, show us some respect. Didn't happen. They were just elitists and went out there, did their own thing, and didn't include Democratic City Committee or wardens or committee people. They just didn't do it.
When did you start having a concern about that?
Probably when they first nominated her, and I had a conversation with them, and they just blew me off. I've never talked to her.
Wow.
Imagine. Not that I'm somebody that I got no ego. I don't have an ego, but at least talk to him. I am the chairman of the Democratic Party for almost 40 years. I did bring numbers in for every other president. Never even had a conversation with her. Never got invited to many. I got invited secondhand to one or two things, And then the one things I got invited to, like at the Parkway. I got invited on the Parkway on a Monday night before election for like 4 hours. I can't do that. I'm out there, putting out fires, They just didn't show the respect. They didn't show our respect. And I would imagine, not only in the city of Philadelphia, but I don't think they showed the respect throughout the state of Pennsylvania, probably steamrolled all that for the rest of the country. That was the kind of campaign that they ran, Especially on a short campaign. Don't you want to go to people that have a proven record and know how to do this stuff and that can help you along with it? Didn't happen.
What can you point to that you say is different than the way the Biden campaign in 2020 operated in the city? That was a pandemic, but what do you think the difference was?
The Hillary campaign, the Obama campaign, the Bill Clinton campaign, the Biden campaign worked hand in hand with us. Their campaigns worked hand in hand. They talked to us. They said, what do we need to do? Should we go here? Every one of those campaigns, Obama, Clinton, both Clintons, and Biden, actually Biden's my personal friend, they worked hand in hand with us. They didn't necessarily do everything I wanted them to do, but they asked our opinion. The Harris campaign never talked to us, never.
Interesting. And I think it's indicative of Kamala and the Democratic Party and how they operated for the last 4 years. They just say what it is going to be, and everybody falls in line, right? They come out with a stupid statement about some Biden flub. The media just takes it and runs with it. So it's like they come in, they tell this guy, this is how we're going to run it. He says, no, that's not how it works here. And they say, well, it's too bad. Okay, well, we're not interfacing with you at all. Okay, well, you're going to lose the election. And they did. And that's great news. So we hope that they learn nothing from this experience. Now, on the Katie Phang show, they were talking about racism and Latinos, and they're very upset with Latinos. Over 45% of Latinos voted for this person, and here they're promising mass deportations. And again, it's just one finger being pointed at another group and another group and another group. And last week we saw this. I think it was one cable show was blaming white women. Another cable show was blaming misogynist black men. Another one was blaming misogynist black Latinos. And we saw in that one county in Texas, a very Latino county, that they voted 93% for Trump. And they're like, they're going to deport you. And they're like, well, they're on the border. Like they don't, the citizens there don't want to be invaded by a foreign country and foreigners from all over the world. So they're pointing their fingers at everybody, and they just can't figure it out. And this has been their strategy, right? They treat people like trading cards. They bundle them all together, 2 pairs, 1 over here, 3 of a kind, doesn't matter, whatever you want, make whatever you want. And then they try to sell that to all of America. Well, that's not how most of America works. We don't treat people and prioritize them based on these features that they believe to be the most important things in the world in their entire lives. So here they are trying to figure it out. Let's listen. Let's watch in.
Those disinformation campaigns, especially on Spanish language media platforms, you've been pounding the pavement, speaking to the Latino voters, talking to them about these issues. You've written a book about it. You've done specials about it. And now when we look at all of these returns and we're seeing the number of Latinos and Latinas that voted.
Whoa. First of all, I thought it was Latinx.
Donald Trump, despite his racist rhetoric, it kind of makes me want to pull my hair out a little bit here, Paola, because not only only is it voting against your best self-interest here. Paula, explain how it is.
Isn't that so racist and condescending? It's like, hey, Latinos, you are so dumb. Don't you know what's good for you? Will you pay attention out there? How can you vote for this guy who's going to deport you? It's like, you don't even know what's good for you, is what she's saying. It's so racist and condescending. I can't even believe they allow it to air.
That this information was available and it could have been accessed. And yet we're sitting here having this conversation now when it's been something that we've been focusing on for a long time. I mean, I saw it happening in real time in Miami-Dade County.
I know you did. You know, I think it's hard because it is a very hard and uncomfortable truth to face what is happening. To face the reality that over 45% of Latinos voted for this person, for the person who was actively promising mass deportations.
That's amazing. We need to pump those numbers up. We need to get those numbers to 80, 90%, amigos.
Actively promising to separate families and talking in such vile ways. And I think what's very important right now is not to just dismiss these gains as simply a result of economic anxiety.
Okay, so she's, I think, a Latinx person. Paola Ramos. I didn't know what was going on right here. I mean, I don't like to, I wanted to make sure there was proper representation on the panel because I couldn't tell, originally. I didn't know if we had a Latinx on the panel just based on the appearances, but apparently we do. So I'm glad that got cleared up.
Simply a problem of the Democrats. I think we have to dig a little bit deeper and have those uncomfortable conversations. This goes beyond the MAGA movement and politics, in my opinion, right? Yeah. This is really about Trump tapping into these very real racial and ethnic anxieties and grievances that as Latinos we carry. And through this movement, that in and of itself sort of was able to expose that we too can carry anti-immigrant sentiments and we too can carry anti-Blackness and we
Oh, it's just incredible. Okay, so Latinxes are racist against Latinxes and blacks too. So this woman says Latinos are racist, bigoted, and they don't know what's good for them on MSNBC. Okay, that's a good strategy. I hope they continue to play that strategy. They should also do the same thing for every other demographic represented by this panel. Just say, well, you guys are racist and bigoted too, and xenophobic and misogynistic. Just go down the line. See how that strategy works out for them. It's really pathetic. Now, here is one other hysterical person. This is actually sad, right? So she is a representative. She's got a 12-year-old daughter, and the household is so disturbed and insane that they're talking to her 12-year-old daughter about getting AR'd and needing to abort the child. She's 12. It's like middle school, right? 12. So she's upset about the Trump victory. Here's why.
So on election night, I went to pick up my daughter from water polo practice, and she's 12, and she got in the car and she was crying. And I said, did someone punch you? Like, water polo is a rough sport. I was like, did someone hit you? Did the coach yell at you? What happened? And she said, Mom, Trump won. Trump's gonna win. And what if I get raped and I need to have an abortion? This is from a 12-year-old, my 12-year-old daughter.
Yeah, not good. Why are you traumatizing your 12-year-old in your household?
And so it was really a reminder of how scary this time is for people and how important it is for Democrats to have strategies, both at the state level and the federal level, to make sure that we can continue to protect people's rights. So on
Okay, so they're having conversations about a Trump victory is going to lead to mass R's of 12-year-old girls. Well, I don't know how that's going to happen because we're going to deport criminals who are here doing that right now. So the R'ing of people in America is going to diminish rapidly because we're going to close the border, which is allowing a bunch of people to come in and kill people after their horrific crimes. All right, so that's what's happening with Democrats, absolutely melting down, continuing to ask questions about how this happened and pointing fingers. Recriminations will continue. We'll be here for it.